Warriors NRL Fanatics here, back today with a video, and I'm going to get into my NRL Magic Round tips. It's round 10, and it's going to be a great weekend of footy. It's all at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane, so it should be good. You know, we haven't seen Magic Round since 2019, so there was no Magic Round last year, but this year Magic Round is back, which is pretty good because, you know, it creates a great carnival of footy. You know, having all the fans there and all one ground, having all the teams there. So it should be good. I'm looking forward to it. So let's get into it. NRL tips for Magic Round. And it all kicks off on Friday the 14th of May. So there's no Thursday night game this week. It all kicks off on Friday night. It sees the West Tigers versus the Newcastle Knights. This is the early game. Kicks off at 6 p.m. Now, for the Newcastle Knights last week, it was a come-from-behind victory over the Canberra Raiders up there in Wagga Wagga. For the West Tigers, it was a disappointing performance against the Gold Coast Titans there up in Campbelltown Stadium. So, you know, going into this game, the Newcastle Knights, they'll have full of confidence heading into this one. A big win for them because going into that Raiders game, Canberra and Newcastle were both, you know, down on confidence, and they lost their last couple of games. So for Newcastle to get that win over the Canberra Raiders after looking like they were going to lose it after being down 16-0 is a huge confidence boost going into this game. And, you know, this is a big chance for Newcastle to go and get 2 wins in a row. So, you know, Newcastle have lacked consistency this year, and they'll want to go back to back here and, you know, climb up the table. So for this game, you know, I'm just going to say I've got all Newcastle Knights here. I think they'll win by just about 8 points. You know, it's hard to get a read on both these teams, but Newcastle with the confidence last week with their win, I'm backing them in here. Newcastle Knights by 8. And anytime try scorers in this game, I've gone with Kalen Ponga, Bradman Best, and Stafford Toa. Now, the second game on Friday night sees the Manly Seagulls versus the Brisbane Broncos. Believe it or not, this is a home game for the Manly Seagulls. So this is listed as a home game for the Manly Seagulls. They get the home changing sheds, which is a big surprise, considering the Broncos, you know, they're from Brisbane, but they're not the home team, which is a bit odd. But, you know, again, this year they will be the away team against the Manly Seagulls up there in Brisbane. So, you know, with both these teams, it's reading to their form. The Manly Seagulls, they're coming off a win over the Warriors. Tommy Trbojevic was on fire against us. So was Jason Sabb. Now, Manly Seagulls, since their loss to the Penrif Panthers, you know, leading into that game, they were in great form. They lost to Penrif Panthers, but Penrif, you know, they were the top team in the competition, and they showed promising signs in that game. So, you know, Manly looking good at the moment. They've shown some great form. They're climbing up the ladder, and if they win this game, believe it or not, they will be sitting in the top 8. So, big game for Manly, and if they win this one, you know, it'll be huge for them in terms of their season. So, I'm going to pick Manly here, but looking into the Brisbane Broncos, now they lost to the Cowboys last week in a very close game. They were leading in that game too, so Brisbane won't be too disappointed with their performance against the Cowboys, but, you know, in the end they didn't win the game. So they're back home here in Brisbane, even though it's not actually their home game, but it's in Brisbane. It's still Brisbane's home game in my opinion, but I'm going to tip Manly, and I'm going to tip them by 14. I just don't see Brisbane winning this one. They could potentially upset them. A few things could go their way. You never know, and they could cause a surprise here. But I'm going to tip Manly by 14 points. And my anytime try scorer, I've gone with Tom Trbojevic, Jason Sabb, Ruben Garrick, and Daly Cherry Evans. So those are my anytime try scorers, and I've gone with Manly by 14. Now, moving on to Saturday, the 15th of May, there is 3 games on Saturday. It's the first game, the Cannery Bankstown Bulldogs versus the Canberra Raiders. Now, for both of these teams, they're coming up with the opposite end of form. Both of these teams are really not been great lately. The Bulldogs only one victory. That was up against the Cronulla Sharks. That felt like a couple of weeks ago. That felt like an eternity, that victory. That was a long, long time ago. Now for the Canberra Raiders, very, very, very disappointing. I don't know what's going on with them lately. They've lost their last 4 games, I believe. 4 games. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, but I think it's 4 games they've lost. So, I don't know what's going on with the Raiders at the moment. They're really, really disappointing, and I had them in my top 4 at the start of the season. I thought they'd be a certain top 4 team, but right now they're not a certain finals team, and they need to start getting some wins soon. Otherwise, if they leave it till too late, that's it. They could miss out, and it'll be a big surprise if they miss out. And this is an opportunity the Raiders need to take. They need to be winning this game against the Bulldogs. And I don't think it's going to be easy. I do not think this game is going to be easy for them. I think it'll be another tough one for them. And I will not be surprised if the Bulldogs pull off an upset. I will not be surprised at all, because the Raiders are a team at the moment that I do not trust in my tips. But I do not trust them in general, because they're just not showing that form that they are showing at the moment. They're showing some very bad performances. But I know last week they were pretty good in the first half, but 16-0 and leading by that much and not winning that game was a complete joke in my opinion, because they should have won. But I'm going to tip the Raiders here with not much confidence at all. I'm not confident in this tip, but I'm going to go with the Raiders here by 12 points. And anytime try scorers, I'm going to go with Nick Kotrick to score against his former team. So Nick Kotrick to score a try in this game, Jack Wyden to cross over, and Hudson Young for the Raiders. So Raiders by 12, and my anytime try scorers of Nick Kotrick, Jack Wyden, and Hudson Young. Now the second game on Super Saturday sees the Cronulla Sharks versus the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Now, for the South Sydney Rabbitohs last week, it was, backs against the wall. They had a lot of injuries, a lot of players out. But still, to concede 50 points against Melbourne was completely, unacceptable. The Rabbitohs, that's not good enough to concede 50 points. I know the Rabbitohs missed players, but still, it shouldn't be not conceding 50 points. It should be not an excuse in the end. But what can you say? Big surprise there. I've picked Melbourne to win that game, but I did not expect the Rabbitohs to concede that many points in that game. So they did, and they'll need to regroup into this game. So I think, last week we'll fire them up even more going into this game, and they'll have the huge boost of Adam Reynolds back, which is a huge, huge boost for them in terms of, this game. So for the Rabbitohs, I'm expecting them to win this game, but for the Cronulla Sharks, look, I'm not going to say too much about them. At the end of the day, they have not shown great performances since the sacking of John Morris, and I still think that is the harshest sacking to me. I thought that was a harsh sacking in my opinion. But I'm going to tip the Raiders here, the Rabbitohs here, sorry. The Rabbitohs here by 30 points, and my anytime try scorers, I'm going with Cody Walker and Alex Johnson. I think the Rabbitohs will bounce back in style. So I'm going to pick the Rabbitohs by 30 points. Now, moving on to the last game on Super Saturday, sees the Sydney Roosters versus the North Queensland Cowboys. The Sydney Roosters, injury-riddled, lots and lots of injuries for the Sydney Roosters, but they do welcome back James Tedesco. Now, the Roosters, I know a lot of people are saying they've got a lot of injuries, and including myself. But, they still managed to produce the results. They still managed to be inside that final spot. And I'm still expecting them to be up there at the end of the season. Now, going into this game, the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys, believe it or not, have won 4 of their last 5 games. So, since that loss to the Warriors, the Cowboys, they're still showing that great performance. They're still showing great form. And they're playing much better footy lately, the Cowboys. So, they got their win over the Brisbane Broncos last week down at North Queensland, which was a good win for them, coming from behind the Cowboys. So they will be very confident leading into this game. I don't know how long since their last victory over the Roosters, but the Cowboys, they could potentially pull off an upset here. I would not rule it out. I would definitely not rule it out in this game. Now, I'm still going to pick the Sydney Roosters here, but, you know, I'm not picking them with much confidence. I know this would be a strange thing to say, considering it's the Sydney Roosters, and the Sydney Roosters probably got a lot more talent than the Cowboys lineup, but I'm not going to pick this game with much confidence. I think the Roosters will win. I'm going to pick them by 16 points. And my anytime try scorers are going with James Tedesco, Daniel Tupou, Joseph Manu, Valentine Holmes, and Kyle Felt for the Cowboys. But I'm going to tip the Roosters by 16 points. But I would not be surprised if the Cowboys pull off a surprise result in this one. Now, moving on to the second game on the Sunday. If you guys want to see my tip for the Warriors, this is the Parramatta Eels game. Go back and check out the preview I did on the previous video. So go check that out if you want to see my prediction for that game. So the second game on Sunday, sees this Melbourne Storm versus the Dragons. Look, the Dragons last week, they got a good win. The Melbourne Storm are still chalking off the results. No surprises there. They're still chalking up the results regardless of who they've got out. And they've got a lot of players out this week as well. They've got no Cameron Munster as well. So, you know, the Dragons might be in for a sniff here of a surprise result. But, you know, I'm still picking Melbourne here. I think Melbourne Storm will win this by 10 points. And my anytime try scorers will go with Nico Hines, Remus Smith, and Josh Adokar. And the Melbourne Storm, you know, this is going to feel like a home game to them because they've got a lot of players that play for Queensland in the state of origin. And Melbourne's record up there in Queensland is great. So, you know, what can you say? Melbourne still should win this one, even without the likes of Cameron Munster. So, Melbourne Storm by 10. Now, the last game of Magic Round, the last game to round out Magic Round, sees the Gold Coast Titans versus the Penrif Panthers, the undefeated Penrif Panthers. They're 9-0 at the moment, so they could potentially go 10-0 here up against the Gold Coast Titans. To me, the Gold Coast Titans have, you know, shown glimpses there and there, but still conceding a lot of points in my opinion. And, you know, they are going to be up against this very strong Penrith side. So, you know what? This might shock a lot of people here, but I'm going to pick a huge margin. I just don't see Gold Coast coming close in this one. I think Penrith Panthers by 20 points. I think it'll be a big score. Anytime try scorers, I've gone with Dylan Edwards, Stephen Crichton, Brian To'o, Jerome Luai, and Liam Martin. So, my tips again are the Manly Seagulls by 14 over the Brisbane Broncos, the Newcastle Knights by 8 over the West Tigers, the Raiders by 12 over the Bulldogs, the Rabbitohs by 30 over the Cronulla Sharks, the Sydney Roosters by 16 over the North Queensland Cowboys, the Melbourne Storm by 10 over the St George Illawarra Dragons, and the Penrith Panthers by 20 over the Gold Coast Titans. So that is it. That's my tips for NRL Magic Round, Round 10, up there at Suncorp Stadium, Brisbane. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, and share your tips and thoughts in the comment section below. And yeah, that's right, to everyone who's heading to Magic Round in Brisbane, enjoy it, have a good time, make sure you know, cheer on your teams as hard as possible. Good luck to everyone who's supporting their teams. Go the Warriors as well. And yeah, I'll see you guys for another one.